Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got a brand new tier list ranking for you on the most popular tribes out there. That's right, I took the 20 most popular tribes, the number one commander from each of those tribes, and I'm going to tell you what's the best, what's the worst. Let's jump into it. First up, we've got Giada, Font of Hope. A 2/2 angel for 2 mana and white, flying vigilance. Each other angel you control enters with additional counter on it for each angel you already control. You can also tap to add a white to spend its mana to cast an angel spell. Basically, this is a kind of like mana dork commander for angels, but so much more than that because the more angels you get into play, the bigger your future angels are going to be that also come into play. Now, when it comes to limiting factors for this commander, well, you are in mono white, which, yeah, is a very large limiting factor because mono white has made a lot of jumps over the past couple of years. It really has made a lot of progress, but it is still the least powerful out of all the colors. Now, that being said, there are a lot of support in angels. There's a lot of angels out there. Yeah, and if you get things going quite quickly, and you really can, there are some lowly ground angels that can be very good. You can really take over the game quite quickly. And again, evasive creatures, of course, with these angels. It is, in my opinion, toward the lower end of the scale because of those limiting factors. I don't think it's the lowest of the low, but I hold the right to adjust that, okay? I have not actually gone ahead of time. I like to actually, with these, just kind of do them on the fly so you can hear my thought process. I'm going to put it in the C tier to start. I think that it might end up in the D tier by the end of the day, just looking at things. In fact, you know what? I'm probably going to have to move to the D tier right now. Okay, I'm just changing on the fly right now. D tier to start, might move up to C. I hold the right to change it. And I should have said beforehand, S tier obviously the best, D tier the worst, and this is all in a vacuum of these commanders comparing to each other. So keep all that in mind. Moving on, Admiral Beckett Brass. Let me know in the comments below why I'm wrong on all this. Admiral Beckett Brass, a 3/3 human pirate for 4 mana in Grixis. Other pirates you control get ++1 at the beginning of your end step. Gain control of target non-land permanent controlled by a player who was dealt combat damage by 3 or more pirates this turn. Now, some benefits to this commander, straight up compared to the previous one we just talked about with Giada. 3 colors. That is like kind of like the sweet spot for commanders where it's like, yeah, you got access to a lot of things. And pirates are really, and mostly these colors that themselves anyways. But yeah, you've got a lot of exciting things that you can do with this one. It is kind of like, it is powerful, but it is also very restricted in that it's like, all right, you need to be able to get through with 3 pirates on 1 player. And if you do that, great. If you don't do that, this commander is just basically a glorified Anthem, which is not all that bad, right? But it doesn't give any of your pirates evasion. And you do need to give most pirates evasion to get them through. I mean, they might have, like, menace or whatnot, but most of them do not have any form of evasion. Some have flying, too, I guess. But still, you need to get your pirates through. You get them through, things can really go your way by stealing some really powerful things, but you do need a good amount of setup as well. I think overall, again, maybe just because it does have access to the 3 colors, I am thinking that's got to be above that D tier, but I'm going to throw you in the C tier to start things off. Now, again, I reserve the right to move these around. You can let me know why I'm complete fool for all of this. Moving on, Alayla, Cunning Conqueror, a 2/4 Fairy Warlock with flying for 4 mana in Dimir. Whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, create a 1/1 black fairy rogue creature token with flying. Whenever one or more fairies you control deal combination with player, go target creature the player controls. This is it could go, fairy or rogue, tribal essentially. But this, in according to EDH Rec, is fairy tribal, made into the top 20. This is a commander that is the top of that. And this is one that you can actually do a good amount of work with, obviously, throughout the game. Again, first spell during each opponent's turn, you're making a 1/1. That means with each tripper on the table, you've got the potential in a 4-player commander game with everyone still on the board, you've got the potential to make 3 1/1 fairies in total with each tripper on the table. And again, whenever 1 or more fairies, there is a limitation there. 1 or more fairies, you do get to go target creature to opponent control. So if you get through on each opponent, which again is, an easier requirement than our previous commander we just talked about, Admiral Beckett Brass, because it is making evasive creatures for you. When you do get through on those opponents, Goading one creature per player can be a pretty powerful thing. It's not the most powerful thing in the world, obviously. It is kind of on the lower scale of things when it comes to that. Like, the token production is very, very good with this one. Being able to make a good amount of fairies. That being said, there's only so much support for fairies. It's kind of, it's not, I wouldn't say like a newer tribe that's been around, but like the support has been a lot newer for it. So I think this one, we're kind of starting at like the bottom of things. This one is in the D tier for me. I do think that this is kind of like a lower end, you know, lower end tribal commander. That being said, we might get there someday with fairies with the more and more support that are coming out throughout the years. But yeah, I mean, there's some potential there. Again, a lot of evasive tokens and being able to goad. That's nice. Just that there's a lot of heavy hitters on this list, believe me. Next up, Phyrexians. That's right, Atraxa Praetor's Voice. A 4/4 flying vigilant death touch lifelink for 4 mana, every color but red. At the beginning of your end step, proliferate. Now, there have been a lot of errated Phyrexians. There were, you know, no Phyrexians for a long time. All of a sudden they're like, oh wait, maybe we should make this into a creature type. So there are a lot of errated Phyrexians. I mean, Atraxa is just a solid commander itself, essentially. Because, I mean, well, it is flying vigilant death touch lifelink, like keyword soup right there. And then also, hey, proliferate every single one of your end steps. So you can take that in a lot of different directions. There are, of course, Phyrexians that go into toxic, Phyrexians that go into infect. I guess that's not the same thing, but you know what I mean. Go into poison counters, basically. You've got Phyrexians that care about ++1 counters, -1/-1 counters. There's a lot of ways to play in that proliferation. And yeah, there's a lot of power things you can do that. So I think this one's kind of like a good, in my opinion, like middle of the road commander. Phyrexians have a decent amount of support, not the most support out of all of them. Atraxa already is a very powerful commander. Again, when it comes to like these rankings, sometimes like the commander pulls the weight of the tribe, sometimes the tribe pulls the weight of the commander, and sometimes it's a combination of both. This one, I think it's more so like there are good Phyrexians. Atraxa does a good amount of work for you, being a threat, being a way to get a lot of value throughout the game, and being a conduit for however you want to build it, essentially. So yeah, I do think that this is a solid commander, a solid tribe, and yeah, there's some exciting things that you can do with it. Again, depending on whatever direction you want to go. You can take opponents out quite quickly if you go for like an infect Phyrexian deck as well. So yeah, I think overall, Atraxa Praetor's Voice at the head of a Phyrexian deck, I keep wanting to say Praetor, Phyrexian deck is a B tier ranking. Moving on, Hackball of the Surging Soul. A 3/3 Merfolk Scout for 4 mana in Simic. I didn't realize actually until recently, this is the most popular Merfolk commander right now. Beginning of combat on your turn, each Merfolk creature you control explores. So that can be a lot of value. Again, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, goes in your hand. Otherwise, counter on that creature that you can put it back on top or in your graveyard. Whenever Hackball attacks, you may put a land card from your hand on the battlefield if you don't draw a card. So this one is one where, okay, you get a little bit of value from that attack, and you do have to put your commander into danger to do so. That being said, throughout the game, your commander might be getting larger and larger and larger. Basically, this is, hey, okay, go wide with Merfolk. Cool. Do that. Great. Go wide with Merfolk and, yeah, get a lot of value. Get a lot of lands off the top of your library in your hand. You're going to have other ways to get those lands into play, like, okay, additional ways to play lands. Additional lands from your hand directly into play. Those kinds of cards. And also, you might have some graveyard synergies there, too, as well. It is, in my opinion, one where, like, the tribe kind of pulls the commander a little more than the commander pulls the tribe, you know, kind of approach when it comes to just, like, the power level of it. There are a good amount of lords in Merfolk. There's a good amount of effects that help all Merfolk out there. It is a tribe that has been one of the longest standing tribes in Commander, in Magic in general. I'd say Hackball of a Surging Soul. Oh, goodness gracious. I mean, it's a powerful color combination as well. I'm going to get a lot of hate right now, I think, for having Giada in the D tier. Maybe I got to move Giada up. It is pretty powerful, even though it's mono white. I don't know. Giada's like a D plus, C minus. I don't know. Hackball, for now, we're going to put you in the C tier. You got a lot of potential, you get a lot of card advantage, and it is a tribe that has a lot of support. I do think that the tribe does pull the commander along a little bit more than the other way around. Next up, Kranko Mob Boss. Now, this one is just one, I'm not going to say like it's an autopilot deck, but it's like very specific on what it wants to do, and it does it so incredibly well. Goblins, Gobos, Cranklin. Cranko, mob boss. Cranklin's Cranko's brother. Anyways, a 3/3 goblin warrior for 4 mana in red. Tap. Create X 1/1 red goblin creature tokens or X the number of goblins you control. This is simple. This is perhaps like the most, I mean, it's like a chef's kiss kind of commander, right? It's like, how do you do goblins? How? And then you ask someone at Wizards and like, this is exactly what a goblin commander is. It's like, yeah, that's pretty perfect. You nailed it a long time ago, Wizards, with what kind of a commander just is goblins, all right? Mono red. There is that limiting factor right there. It is a mono-colored commander, okay? There is a limitation to that. That being said, this is pretty perfect for what you can do for a mono-colored commander. I mean, just, okay, tap, make 5 goblins. Next time, tap, make 10 goblins. Next time, tap, make 20 goblins. It's so simple, so effective. Again, goblins are already a creature type. You can get a lot of them out quite quickly. With this one as well, a quick, little tip there if you're building a Cranko deck. Threat and effects are amazing with this. Not because you're going to be stealing your opponent's creatures, but because they're one of the only ways in red to actually untap one of your creatures. So, threaten Cranko, all of a sudden, tap it again. So again, you make, say, let's say 5, you tap. All right, you threaten your commander. You untap it, you tap it again, now you're making 10. You're speeding up the process of doubling your board again and again and again and again. Have things like Impact Tremors, have things like Perforos. Things can go so quickly against a Cranko deck that your opponent's heads will spin. Of course, have some hasty effects as well. Ways to sacrifice your goblins for value, Warstorm Surge, whatever you're going to do. Yeah, okay, Cranko. I think, again, the limiting factor on this one, the only limiting factor on this one really is, like, you're in mono red. If you had, like, access to, I mean, if you had access to blue for some reason or, white for some reason where you just had all the untap effects, this could be crazy. But, again, this is just goblins, just inherently very goblin. I think just because it is mono-colored, it is limited in that fashion. I mean, maybe I'm gonna throw over the B tier just because like the potential for this is like pretty threatening. It is a commander that again can get so out of control if it's not stopped so quickly. And again, once you get something like Perforos in play, like the entire table's got to be on alert where it's like, okay, if they tap Cranko one more time, we're all gone. So yeah, I do think I'm probably going to regret that again. Like, the gap between these two should not be that much, so maybe I do move Giada up. Let's just move Giada up. I keep talking about it, all right? So we're going to move Giada to the C tier. But yeah, Cranko, goblins have a lot of support. This is a very, very good marriage of, like, goblins have a lot of support. The commander supports the goblins. It's a very good commander. Next up, Lathril, Blade of the Elves. One of the most popular tribes out there for a long time. Elves, 2/3 Elf Noble with Menace for 4 mana in Golgari. Whenever it deals combat to a player, create that many 1/1 green Elf Warrior creature tokens. Tap, 10 untapped. Elves you control. Each opponent loses 10 life and you gain 10 life. This one is a very interesting commander. It's an incredibly popular commander. Now, a couple different ways you can go about it. I mean, you can either just go Elf Ball just on its own. You can find ways to actually, pump this commander. Menace is a good way to get through. It's not a perfect way, but, give Trample. Maybe give, just an absurd amount of power. It doesn't matter, essentially, and Trample, and you're going to be making a ton of creatures. And being able to tap this one to drain your opponents, it can be a great finishing effect for it, too. This is one where, like, the floor for a commander deck built around Elves is just so incredibly high because Elves give you, like, all the things. There's so many effective Elves out there. And just at the very least, you've got an absurd amount of quick ramp with Elves, okay? You've got so many low-to-the-ground mana orcs that are amazing. You've got so many Elves that have, big pump effects. You've got so many Elves that have a good amount of tribal support. And this one just like, okay, by the way, yeah, I've got a good finisher for you. I've got a good token generator for you. It's hard to argue against this one being, like, anything less than, in my opinion, like, even like a B tier commander, it seems. Like, that's just, like, the floor of this one. It might get out to the A, but, like, I think I'm gonna hold off right now because there's just some really heavy hitters toward the top, and I'm gonna regret, I think, if I move these too high too quickly. I mean, I'm just starting way too low, I guess, on these, but we're gonna stick with that for now. So I think, again, just because of the high floor for the Elves, essentially, the ceiling is all the way up there too, but, like, the commander itself isn't just like oh my god, that's the most absurd commander I've ever seen designed. It's a good commander. It is one that, again, can be a great finisher. It can be a good engine once you get built up with it. You do have to get built up with it, though. Otherwise, it's just kind of like the tribe itself kind of pulling the commander along. Moving on. One that is the exact opposite of that. Myral Shield of Argive, a 3/4 human soldier for 4 mana in white. During your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. Whenever Myral Shield of Argive attacks, create X 1/1 color soldier artifact creature tokens, where X is the number of soldiers you control. So this is one where, again, it is like it's soldier tribal, and that was the thing that was like never a thing in the past. It seemed like Wizards, like, only recently was, like, with, like, the, I want to say, like, class type tribal, you know, things. Like, so where it's like, okay, instead of it being, I guess Wizards was a thing for a long time, but, like, soldiers never really got that. Like, when it comes to, like, soldiers, knights, warriors, like, all those kind of describe the exact same profession in a way, like, if I'm oversimplifying it. And so there's going to be times where those cards are like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes soldiers. Oh, wait, no, those are warriors. Secure the Waste makes warriors, not soldiers, not knights. Oh, that makes knights, not soldiers, not warriors. So when it comes to, like, the support for this, there's obviously a decent amount of support. There's a good amount of things that make soldiers. That being said, this is the engine that gets things going. This is an absurd engine. This is kind of like Cranko, but for soldiers. That being said, you are in mono white, and again, we already talked about why mono white kind of has that kind of inherent weakness, I would say, compared to the other colors still, like when it comes to card advantage as well as ramp typically, still, mono white is lacking compared to the other colors. That being said, it's getting better lately. Being able to protect, again, during your turn, opponents can't cast spells or active abilities of artifact, creature, enchantments. That's quite nice. That's quite nice to protect your things. And again, doubling up the number of soldiers you control every single turn. Again, with Cranko, that can be insane. You do need ways to protect this, though, because, again, this has to attack to do so. That being said, yeah, there's plenty of ways to take advantage of that as well. It's not exactly like Cranko, though, where you have, like, Impact Tremors type cards where it's like, oh, okay, I had a bunch of creatures in play. I just win, like, because I just dealt damage to you all. This you actually have to get through in combat with your soldiers eventually. You do have a lot of anthems, though, in this color, obviously, so you've got a lot of ways to pump those creatures and protect this one, too. And sure, you can be like, okay, I've got, like, Soul Sister type effects, like I can gain a bunch of life. Okay, that's good. I'd rather deal the damage, but still. Okay, overall, a long roundabout way of saying I think that I would put this one with Jada in the C tier, because this is one, again, where Soldier is a decent amount of support. It does. There's some cards that might surprise you that you're like, oh yeah, that makes soldiers. Oops, forgot about that. But this one is one where it's the commander kind of pulling the tribe along, in my opinion. So it is one that is quite powerful, kind of like Cranko for soldiers. Let's throw it in the C tier for now. Moving on, Rin and Seri Inseparable. A 4/4 dog cat for 4 mana in Naya. Whenever you cast a dog spell, create a 1/1 green cat creature token. The exact opposite is also true. Casting cat spells make dog creatures. Pay Naya colors. Tap, Rin and Seri deals damage to any target equal number of dogs you control. You gain life equal number of cats you control. This one is interesting in that you can go in either way, but this one is Cat Tribal. Cat Tribal is more, actually supported and more popular than Dog Tribal, which makes sense because, like, cats have always been cats for the most part, versus dogs have been like, they were hounds. Now they're also dogs. Regardless, if you are going full Cat Tribal with this one, yeah, you've got some, ways to build around. You've got some ways to support it. It is a tribe that has a decent amount of support. Again, over the years, we've gotten more kind of like cutesy cat cards, cutesy dog cards, fun things like that. It is not the most supported tribe. It is a really, really good commander, though, to help along with that support, though it is like kind of, it's one of those weird commanders that's like split between, what you want to do in a way, because it's like, okay, you are, like, let's say that, okay, if this said instead, for a cat tribal deck, if this was instead, hey, whenever you cast a cat spell, make a 1/1 cat. That would be more powerful for the specific cat tribal deck. This one is whenever you cast a cat spell, make a dog token, so you're going like this way, but also that way. Which does play, obviously, in the other ability, dealing damage, gaining life. That's nice. Not the most powerful thing out there. Maybe I'm underselling this one, and I'm going to get a lot of hate out there from, like, the cat players, but, like, I do think that just because it's a commander that, like, its focus is there if you are going, like, with both. This is actually the most popular cat tribal commander, though. If you are going specifically cat tribal, like not building into both aspects of it, just like all cat tribal, which many, Rin and Seri decks are doing if you're doing that, I think that this one is just, I'm going to go with a D tier commander. Maybe I'm underselling it right there because it is 3 color. Cats have been getting more support lately. Maybe I'm underselling it, but just because like the way the commander kind of splits it, I think I'm going to go with that. I think I'm going to be going with that. Let's just stick with that now, and yell at me in the comments below, please, on how wrong I am about all these. Or let me know just your thoughts. That'd be nice. Sidar Jabari of Zalfir, a 4/3 human knight for 4 mana in Esper. Eminence. Whenever you attack with one or more knights of Sidar Jabari of Zalfir is in the command zone or on the battlefield, draw a card, discard a card. Flying first strike deals counter to player, return target knight creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is a commander that, again, like we just talked about the soldier tribal deck, it's like, okay, lately, again, it started to be like, oh yeah, soldier tribal matters, warrior tribal matters, and then also knight tribal. Like, being able to say, okay, we've got, these different kind of creature types that, again, hadn't gotten any kind of, specific support, and more were just, like, generic, like, oh, this spell makes knights, this spell makes soldiers, this spell makes warriors. Like, you forget kind of which ones make which, essentially. This one, though, again, is one that, okay, now finally pay attention to knights, and it made knights just skyrocket. Again, one that had, like, no commanders around it that, like, were really specifically knight commanders. This one's more so like, yeah, okay, knights are a thing. Here's what we're doing. We're focusing so heavily on them that we're bringing Eminence back. Now, you might have your own opinions on Eminence. I hate it. But yeah, you might have your own opinions on Eminence, essentially, and its role in Commander. It is one that is limited enough, at least, where it's not like, oh, I'm game-breaking Eminence, like, reducing the cost of your spells without doing anything. We'll talk about that one here in a little bit. Regardless, being able to, again, with one or more knights attack, you get to draw, then discard. That is something that is more limited. It does play into that other ability, which is quite nice, and you are actually incentivized to actually get your commander out, again, with that combat damage. Hey, bring a knight back from your grave to the battlefield, reanimation style effect that plays into that looting. That can be quite nice. Knight Tribal only has so much support right now, though. Again, you do have that Eminence. Eminence just inherently just brings this up, right? Eminence brings it up. So does the fact that it's 3 color. The reanimation on it is nice. If you give it double strike, you're reanimating twice as many things. There's only so much Knight Tribal support, though. Again, this is one where the commander is pulling along the tribe, essentially. There are a decent amount of ways to make knights, sure, but there, if you had, like, here's the thing, like, if all, like, the warrior, soldier, knight, those kind of essentially cards were all the same creature type and it was all one, it would be an absurdly powerful tribe. That being said, it's kind of split between those. So I think overall, am I underselling it? Am I underselling Sidar Jafari, if I could talk? Am I underselling as a C-tier commander? Maybe I am. Let me know in the comments below. Next up, we'll have the Rot Cleaver. Again, zombie, a creature type that has been around for so long. Just like, when I think of Magic, it's like, oh yeah, okay, you got goblins, you got elves, you got zombies, you got wizards, yeah, all these things. Zombies are definitely something toward the top. It's always been toward the top when it comes to tribal popularity. A 3/3 zombie warrior for 4 mana in Dimir. Whenever another zombie control dies, if it didn't have Decayed, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. Beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice a zombie if you do draw a card. Now that second part is nice. Like, just like inherent, like, okay, cool, I can just draw a card at the end of my turn if I need to. You're going to have zombies out there, and basically every single one of your zombies is kind of like 2 zombies in a way. Because you're like, oh, yeah, sacrifice it, make another zombie, it has Decayed, cool. You can do a lot of absurd things with this one. This is one where it is a good marriage of, again, the tribe is doing a lot, but so is the commander. Again, basically, again, this doubles up. I mean, there are some cards out there like make a zombie with Decayed, but like you probably won't play many of those with this because you're like, okay, I just want to make a bunch of zombies, and there's so many ways to make a bunch of zombie tokens. This doesn't care if they're tokens or not. And all of a sudden, you are, sacrificing those for value in one way or another, and all of a sudden you are replacing them. And you probably have, like, those Blood Artist style effects, like, Diagraph Commander, that kind of stuff as well. Diagraph Captain, I think that's the one. Whereas you have ways to drain your opponents when you're sacrificing zombies. This can go incredibly quickly. It is one that does do a lot of work. There are just some really heavy-hitting commanders on this list, though, that I promise we're going to be getting to at some point, and maybe I'm overselling those versus underselling these. This is one that I think is like B plus, A minus. We're gonna go with the B for now. Maybe I'm gonna regret that. I keep saying that on these. We'll get up into here eventually, I promise. We'll get to these, but we just need to get to them at some point, and I will show you why I am holding off on putting anything into the A or S tier for now. So yeah, zombies, this is a very good commander. Again, one that isn't an absurd effect. It's not just crazy, like, oh my gosh, how did they print that? It's like, okay, that is a really good effect for zombies, and zombies do a lot of work for you. Moving on. A 5/4 human knight with first strike for 5 mana in Jeskai. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if another human enters the battlefield under control this turn, create 2/2 red human creature tokens of trample and haste. Then if you control 6 or more humans, draw a card. So here's the thing. I mean, this is kind of funny because it could go Knight Tribal as well, but this one is Human Tribal. I mean, I guess it's more Human Tribal because it's like, you need a human enter the battlefield, but like a lot of Knights are humans, so there you go. There's the crossover there. That being said, humans are a creature type that, again, like, was never, like, specifically, like, built around or, like, a thing back in the day where it's like, yeah, that's the thing, it just happens to be a human. Like, other things like, it's a lot more interesting when it's like, oh, that's an elf. Cool. That's a goblin. Cool. That's a human. boring. Yay! But you don't realize just how many cards are human in Commander, how many cards are human in Magic, and this is a very, 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 very powerful card when it comes to, you know what? Again, any human enters the battlefield in any way. Could be, again, make a creature token that is a human. That's cool. You know, you can do that. Cool. It could be have a human that you blinked or whatnot even. Okay, cool. That happened. You could play a human as well. That's just like very, you know, obviously very obvious. That being said, being able to give you very quickly, again, a lot of humans, and also being able to give you some card advantage there in a 3-color strategy. Yeah, you can do a lot of things with this one. Again, the amount of support humans have is very good. I'd say this is one that is, again, a good balance, kind of like World Health, where the commander is doing a good amount of work. The tribe is doing a good amount of work, again, surprisingly. When it comes to, like, tribal effects, like, humans only have so many tribal effects themselves, I guess I should say. But just, like, the power level of humans themselves are pretty crazy throughout the game. So, yeah, there's a good balance of that. We're just still not quite at the level of, yeah, there's absurd things going on. I'd say Eowyn Shield Maiden, we're going to be going B tier with you. Eventually, we'll break into the S of the A. I promise. I promise. I promise. Moving on. Nala Archmage Ritualist, a 4/5 human wizard for 5 mana in Grixis Eminence. There's that word that I loathe. Whenever another non-token wizard in its battlefield under your control, if a Nala is in the command zone on the battlefield, it may pay 1. If you do, create a token's copy of that wizard. Gains haste, exile begin next end step. Tap 5 and tap wizard you control. Target player loses 5 life. Now, when it comes to the build around for this one, you're probably going to focus more so on that first part again. Basically, hey, okay, like Flame Shadow Conjuring essentially in the command zone is what this is. You just pay 1 mana extra and you're like, cool, I get that exact same creature again. You know, temporary token. That being said, again, you get whatever ETB you get from it. You get another triggers you get from it. You get, you know, like, it's an exile, so it's like you don't get like a death trigger, but you get a leave the battlefield trigger if you have that on it too. You get another amazing effect from that wizard. There's a lot of powerful wizards out there, absolutely. There's a decent amount of wizard tribal shenanigans to be done as well. Oh, I think overall, again, it has a lot of support. It has a lot of support. It is a good effect, and again, it's a free effect. You don't even have to ever play this commander. You really don't have to play this commander, except if you're getting onto like a finishing part of the game. You're like, that player is at, you know, 14 life or whatever. Okay, cool. I play this and then I win. Cool. There's that kind of aspect to it. You just really don't have to ever play this commander, though. And again, it is one that it's a powerful effect. It's not OP, though. Wizards do have a good amount of support, I think, overall. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, we're going to throw this in the B tier. A good combination, again, of support and commander support as well. Next up. Okay, here we go, and this is just where I'm just going to just chuck this into one of the tiers before we even start. This is an S tier commander, the first Sliver. S tier for, you know, a tribal build around Slivers. You might be like, well, why would you build any other deck? Believe me, you can build like a Blightsteel Colossus deck around this. It's quite weird and funny. Anyways, 7/7 Sliver with Cascade for 5 mana, 1 of each color. Sliver spells you cast have Cascade. Now, here's the thing. Okay, number 1. This one already has an advantage over all the other commanders we've talked about so far because you got access to all 5 colors. You have access to all 5 colors. Even if you're not including, which you probably will, slivers from each color, you have access to all the colors, meaning every single card is on the table. The best card draw, the best removal, etc., etc., etc. And slivers are a disgusting tribe. And this just gives you one of the most disgusting mechanics with that tribe. Again, Cascade equals free additional value. Every single Sliver spell you cast, you get free additional value. And Commander players love free additional value. So basically, it's like, okay, I cast this Sliver. Oh, cool. I got another amazing Sliver. And the more Slivers you have in play, the more absurd they become. There are slivers out there that can make all the other slivers much larger. There's other slivers that can make them hit twice as hard. Give them lifelink. Give them absurd ways to get through. Give them incredible effects. Give them indestructibility. Pump them to oblivion. There are slivers that can just win you the game when you get them in play. And you can just randomly hit them off the top and be like, oh, I hit that. Oh, cool. Okay. You all lose. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, this is a crazy powerful commander for a crazy powerful tribe. Again, we talk about ways where, okay, you got some tribes that have like creature types like, again, humans, where like, okay, now we're starting to get more and more like humans that are like specific to, like, we have powerful humans out there, yes, but more specific to like, okay, like a tribal effect for humans. More and more of those are coming lately, all right? That's like an older thing for humans. Slivers have been from the get-go just a focus on every single thing is basically a lord. Every single thing is a tribal effect. Every one of those cards is tuned to be like, you know what, let's just help the team. And this commander's like, you know what's great? The team in 5 colors. So much crazy value to be had with this one. I think it's going to be tough to argue against this one being either S or A. I do lean toward S because this one to me just kind of stands above a lot of the other things out there. It is just good. Next up, Ulalek Fuse Atrocity, a 2/5 Eldrazi for weird color combination, basically colorless or Wooburg. Devoid, whenever you cast an Eldrazi spell, you may pay colorless. If you do, copy all spells you control, then copy all other activate trilogy abilities you control. Choose targets for the copies. This is a pretty crazy commander. It is one that's like, you know what, let's just double up everything that we have, but it's paying 2 extra mana. It is interesting in like the mana base for this one because like you need to probably, I mean, you don't need to. You could focus really heavily on colors because most Eldrazi are colorless. You want to have some ways to get, you know, mana of other colors, though, obviously, for like just like your helper spells, essentially, but also like some Eldrazi now that you have access to in Eldrazi Tribal, you know, which you didn't previously unless you're playing like Morophon, can be Eldrazi of the other colors. That being said, being able to just, okay, yeah, I pay 2 extra mana, I double up my creature, and then all the abilities of it, all triggers, which a lot of powerful triggers are to be had in Eldrazi. Then there's just like game-ending Eldrazi themselves. Like you just play one, like okay, that's the game. You played Void Winnower. Okay, your opponents just can't do anything now. For the most, it depends on the situation. But that can just be like an effect. Or like, oh, they played, you know, one of the Titans. They played Kozilek. Okay, they swing. We're in trouble. Or oh, they played Emrakul. Not the band Emrakul, but they played Emrakul. Oh no, yeah, that's game. So again, this is one that just like has haymaker after haymaker after haymaker. You are in 5 color. The only thing like between this like and the slivers is like slivers is so much faster because slivers are so much lower to the ground, and you've got that cascade. This one is a bit slower than that, obviously, because Eldrazi take a good amount of time to actually get going. But like once you do, it's crazy. Yeah, I'd say overall probably an A tier commander, all things considered. Be'lakor, the Dark Master. Another kind of like creature type with demons that like didn't really get like a lot of tribal support back in the day. It wasn't like, let's build all the demons. And now it's like, yay, demonic things, yay. Okay, 6/5 demon noble flying for 6 mana and Grixis, Prince of Chaos. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and lose X life for X the number of demons you control. Whenever demon enters the battlefield, you control deals damage equals power to any target. This is one where like, okay, you have a Warstorm Surge in the command zone, lovely. But also you have, again, draw a card, lose X life. You have a great amount of, well, card advantage. Again, and sure, you lose some life. Oh, darn. 1 life for 1 card is no big deal at all. Demons are a tribe that typically cost a bit more. Kind of like not like, you know, Eldrazi levels of cost, but like still like up there typically. When I think of a demon, it's like 5 mana, 6 mana. So it does take a little bit of time to build up. That being said, once you get things going, you're like, okay, ping, 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 ping. Again, just like damage everywhere with the Warstorm Surge. A lot of card draw. And again, when it comes to card draw, very easily usable and abusable card draw because this is, hey, I enter the battlefield, I do this. It's not, I enter the battlefield. If you cast me, there's no cast trigger requirement, meaning that, hey, you know what? You're just going to draw a lot of cards. You blink this, you draw more cards. You know, you have like, again, like a Panharmonicon type effect to just double that up. Or you've got a Conjurer's Closet type effect to get that every single turn. Or you've got a, hey, Flame Shadow Conjuring type effect where you make extra copies. You can draw a ton of cards with this. You can just do crazy things. It does take some setup, though, and I think that's probably the thing with this one, where Demon Tribal, unlike some of the other tribes we talked about, only has so much support. This one is at 6 mana, and a lot of the demons are, that amount too. Maybe I'm talking on both sides of my mouth with this because Eldrazi take a while to get there, but like once you play an Eldrazi, sometimes it's just game over, so that's kind of the difference, I would say. I'd say Be'lakor, the Dark Master, has a lot of things going for it. Really put demons on the map as a tribe, in my opinion. I mean, we've had other ones in the past, true, but those commanders have been more like, okay, demons or angels or dragons, you know what I'm talking about. Regardless, I'd say this one probably is a C+, B- commander. We're going to throw in the C tier. Next up, Edgar Markov. Now, there may be some debate on this because this, in my opinion, is just like up there. It is one that could very easily be S tier. I think this one more so depends on your playgroup, really, kind of. That might be a cop-out answer, but like I'm going to put in the A tier for now, okay? It could be an S tier commander. It's so incredibly fast. It is so incredibly fast. So it might be an S tier commander, but I'm going to throw in the A. Okay, a 4/4 Vampire Knight for 6 mana, but you might never need to play it in Mardu. Whenever you cast another vampire spell, if it's in the command zone on the battlefield, create a 1/1 black vampire creature token. First strike haste. Whenever it attacks, put a counter on each vampire you control. You know how we talked about like Rin and Seri and how Rin and Seri is like at the bottom of the list in my opinion because again it's like okay cats but also dogs. This one's like vampires but also vampires. Again, it's like the exact same thing as Red and Sari, but it doesn't split. This one's just like, no, all vampires. So you get literally ground vampires, you cast them, and all of a sudden you get more vampires. Every single vampire is double vampire. And there's a lot of support for vampires. Ever since, like, Innistrad, I mean, we had vampires back in the day, obviously, right? A lot of vampires ever since the start of Magic. Like, we've had a lot of amazing vampires. That being said, like, Innistrad came along and said, hey, vampires are amazing. Cool, awesome. And so we have a lot of vampire tribal. You get a lot of cool effects. You go wide so quickly with this, so aggressively with this. And again, Eminence. One of my least favorite things of all time. You just get free value. From the start of the game, it's like, okay, turn 1, play a vampire. Okay, cool, I get a second vampire. Turn 2, play another vampire. Okay, I get another vampire. Again, it's so quick, so absurd. The thing is, again, like, if this was a one-on-one format, yeah, Edgar would be easily S tier because it's like, okay, cool, I'm taking you out because I'm so much faster than you. This is a 4-player game. You need to be able to take out all the players. You'll get set up quite quickly. You could also get, decimated quite quickly, too. I'm going to go with an A-tier commander, though. Very, very, very supported tribe. Very, very, very powerful commander. Moving on. Millicent Restless Revenant, a 4/4 Spirit Soldier. This spell costs 1 less cast for each spirit you control, which is good because it costs 7 mana. And Azorius, flying. Whenever another non-token spirit you control dies or deals counter to a player, create a 1/1 white spirit controlling with flying. This one is a bit limited in that, like, spirits don't have, I mean, again, over the years, we've gotten a little bit more, but, like, spirits inherently don't have all that much support, and this one kind of is one of the commanders that really put spirits on the map, being a, pre-con commander. I'd say overall, it's probably a D-tier commander. Like, it's a good effect. It definitely is. And it's a commander that can be easy to get back out, but, like, if you get, like, decimated, then, like, oh, okay, it's going to cost 9 mana, and I don't have any spirits in play to help, recast it. You might be in trouble. That being said, like, if you get estimated, like, if it's a non-token spirit and, like, it died, then you get to replace it, so that is nice. That being said, if you're just going, like, all tokens, again, the fact that this says, or another non-token spirit, if this was just, like, if a spirit you control deals counter to a player, make another spirit, this would be, in my opinion, a bit more powerful, because, like, you don't have to depend on those non-token spirits. You could go all tokens, and there's plenty of great ways to make token spirits. It's interesting. It's like an interesting middle ground, but, like, I think overall its power level is kind of capped because spirits need a bit more support. And I mean, there's Rog Skull Captain or whatever that one is, but, like, it needs more support. And also, yeah, the commander, it does have a decent effect. It's got a good effect, but it's not overly powerful. Moving on. One that Timmy's just absolutely love, Gishes Sun's Avatar, a 7/6 Dinosaur Avatar with Vigilance, Trample, and Haste for 8 mana and Naya. That's quite the cost, but it's quite the effect. Whenever it deals combat to a player, reveal that many cards at the top of your library, put any number of dinosaur creature cards among them on the battlefield, the rest at the bottom of your library in random order. There are some very, very powerful dinosaurs out there, and if this hits the right things, my goodness. If you give it double strike, my goodness. It does take quite a bit of time for it to get out again. This is at 8 mana. And it's not like some other commanders we've talked about so far, like, oh, it's 8 mana, but it has Eminence, or it's, 8 mana, but it, not 8 mana, it has, cost reduction, but 7 mana. We just talked about 1. That being said, there are a decent amount of dinosaur tribal support out there. Like, we're getting more and more and more every single time we get back to Ixalan and whatnot, but there's only so much. There's some very powerful dinosaurs, but, like, I think overall, like, you really need to get things going. It takes a while to get things going, but, like, once you do, you can very easily just win. So, yeah, I'd say overall, probably a C tier commander. It just takes, like, one good hit for you just to be like, okay, the game's probably over. If you had double strike, even more so. Finally, though, one of the most popular tribal commanders of all time, if not the most popular tribal commander of all time, the Dragon. Now I'm just going to start things off by throwing this up in the A tier. This is one that could probably be argued for S. In my opinion, it's like SA, but, I'm going to go with the A. Probably like an A+. This is one that, again, my ire for Eminence is really, really, really emphasized with this one, I think. 10/10 Dragon Avatar for 9 mana in Wooburg. So, again, out of the, S and A tier commanders, 3 of them are Wooburg. It just kind of shows, like, the advantage that you have if you've got a 5-color commander. You just get all the cards. Eminence, as long as your dragon is in the command zone on the battlefield, other dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Flying, whenever one of our dragons you control attack, draw that many cards. You may put a permanent card from your hand on the battlefield. This is a commander that, again, does cost 9 mana. Sure, that's an absurd amount. That being said, again, this is one of those commanders because of Eminence, you don't even actually have to play for this to make a massive impact on the game. The amount of mana this can save you throughout the game is absurd. Now, dragons do cost a decent amount. Like some of the higher end dragons that are like, oh, that's a game ender, and there's a lot of those like game ending dragons out there. Sure, 7-8 mana, whatever. It has some cost reduction though, and you've got other cost reduction cards help you out. Get them out earlier. That's great for you, not great for your opponents. That being said, they're also very, very, very solid. And it seems like Wizards is like unable to not make a dragon in a set these days. Like, what are you doing, Wizards? Like, even Bloomborough had a dragon. And it was like, okay, so we've got like forest creatures, bunnies, raccoons, all these things. No humans, ha ha ha. Oh, by the way, there's one dragon. It's a bird dragon. We didn't need a dragon in that set, Wizards. Okay, regardless, we have been getting an absurd amount of dragon support over the past couple years. Like, it just seems like, again, like, oh yeah, this set has, of course, heavy-hitting giant dragon. Cool. So the amount of support this gets is crazy. Throughout the years, it's absolutely insane. Like, trying to make, talking to Eddie about what making cuts for, like, the dragon tribal deck is really, really tough. It's like, wow, that's a crazy good dragon, but, like, does it even make the cut? Because, like, the deck is already so, yeah, when it comes to tribal. So this one is one that, again, doesn't need to be played to make an impact. When you do play it, the impact that it does make is crazy because you don't even have to swing with it. Again, it's like whenever one or more dragons you control attack. So literally, you play this, it's not hasty, thank goodness. But then you're like, okay, yeah, I attack with my 8 dragons. Okay, cool. I draw 8 cards and cheat anything into play. Oh my goodness. You better hope that that player doesn't have like an extra combat. Regardless, and also when this does attack, it is a 3-shot KO, but of course very easily into a 2-shot or even 1-shot KO. Just an extra 1 power and double strike will do it for you. This commander has a lot of different avenues to victory. Again, go wide with a bunch of dragons. There's ways to make dragon tokens. Or just, get a heavy hitting, I win the game dragon out into play, and all of a sudden the game is over, and we've got a lot more of those lately. So I would say, again, this is one that's like up there, like A+. S-. It's not quite, to my opinion, like the first sliver. Like first sliver, every single one of the slivers is literally built for being tribal. That is what slivers do. And Cascade is absurd. That being said, this is definitely one that can, challenge for the crown up there too. So this is my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on where I'm having things. And again, like I go back and forth with some of these, and there's definitely different levels to each one of these as well, each one of these placements, but I do think I'm pretty happy with where things ended up. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. Again, this is all in the vacuum of, the tribal commanders out there. The top 20, what do you think of my tiers? And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.